Hello, good evening. Happy new or full moon. I don't know why I always say that. Happy full moon in Aries. My name is Al. If you don't know me, tonight we're going to be going through a slow flow to celebrate the full moon in Aries, and it will be a lot of fun. So for our class tonight, we're going to go through sort of like a vinyasa flow sort of class. We will sort of slow things down a little bit, make it a little bit more restorative and a little bit more sort of nourishing and gentle, and just kind of something that gives us an opportunity to unwind and stretch a little bit and kind of feed the soul, release some stress and whatnot. If you have taken a class with me before during the full moon, you know that I like to do a little bit of a slower sort of flow at this time, because it's all about sort of releasing what's no longer serving us, sort of reaching the peak of the moon cycle that we're currently going through. And that's kind of a great time to pause and check in with ourselves and kind of recognize, what energy we've been exerting during this time. Where can we sort of reallocate that energy as we go into the last few weeks of the current cycle, and kind of prepare ourselves for whatever kind of launches off during the next new moon. So with this full moon being in Aries, there is this kind of fiery element to it. Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. It is the cardinal fire sign. So it often is associated with kind of like new beginnings, this sort of like go-getter energy, very much like an assertive energy, and also has a lot to do with our creativity, our ambition, our courage and confidence. So those are just kind of some of the themes that might be prevalent in your life right now. Definitely sort of that sense of your inner fire, your inner sparkle. So if that's something that feels like it's strong right now, then that's amazing, and maybe now is just a time to kind of let go, reflect on that a little bit, see how you can continue to harness that as we move forward. Or maybe that is something that feels like it's been a challenge lately. Maybe you feel like your sparkle or your shine has been dimmed over the past few weeks. We are in Libra season, so we may be spending more time and energy on our relationships, on helping others, and kind of focusing a lot on things going on around us and things going on with other people. So maybe you kind of set the intention during this time to reallocate that focus and that energy back inwards, back to yourself, so that you can kind of ignite whatever has been put on the back burner within you, and bring some new energy, new confidence, new life into the rest of this moon cycle, and gearing up for our new moon in Scorpio in a couple weeks. So that being said, let's go ahead and get started with class. We're starting a little bit late, so thanks for bearing with me. Feel free to get set up in a reclined position, and we're gonna just start with a couple deep breaths and a few moments to just kind of find our center. So I'm going to step back to my mat. Feel free to leave a comment in the chat if you have any questions as we go through class, or if the music feels like it's too loud or too quiet or anything, just drop a line and let me know, and I can adjust that. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get set up on our mat. So like I said, we're going to get started in a reclined position. So you're welcome to lay all the way down on your back. If you want to put a pillow under your head, or a pillow maybe under your hips for support, just kind of set yourself up however feels good, however feels supportive for you here. Now you can have the soles of your feet down on the mat like mine are right now, or you can maybe take the soles of the feet together, or just take them out nice and long. So again, whatever feels supportive. Let your arms just rest, maybe by your sides, maybe over your heart or your belly. And let's just get started here with a few long, deep breaths. So taking a big breath in through the nose. And out through the mouth. Let's continue with that deep breath. Again, in through the nose. And out through the mouth. And continuing just like that, letting the breath come in and out at your own pace. And just starting to bring some awareness to it. So, as you go through your day, you're often not super focused on your breathing. We're kind of just doing it subconsciously as other things are going on in our lives, going on around us. So give yourself an opportunity here to let your breathing come to the forefront of your focus and attention. And start to notice how this very intentional breath that we're taking is a little bit longer and a little bit deeper than your natural breath. Take a few more breaths right here. Won't take too much longer here. I know I talked for a little bit at the beginning. So just breathing nice and deep. Noticing where your body is making contact with your mat. Feeling supported there. Feeling grounded. And just taking one moment to maybe just reflect on what I talked about before we came to our mats. Where can we ignite our inner fire? What might be standing in our way from doing so? And how can you let that go? Let's take one more big breath here. Your eyes are closed. You're welcome to blink them open, or feel free to keep them closed if you'd like and just listen to my cues. We'll start to take the right knee in towards the chest. So hugging that right knee in, left leg can stay long, or if that feels kind of awkward as you're hugging the right leg in, you can bend into the left knee and place the sole of the foot down on the mat. So just giving yourself a hug here to start. Just hugging the right leg. And then let's start to make some small circles with the right knee. So bringing the knee up and around. And then maybe making those circles a little bit bigger. So you might kind of let go of the knee a little bit with one hand or the other. So that you can make a slightly bigger circle with your knee here. And then we'll switch directions. So bringing that circle in the opposite direction. If you are going clockwise, we'll switch to counterclockwise or vice versa. Next time the knee comes into center, pause there. Take the hands to the back of the thigh and start to extend that right leg out long. So the sole of the foot is shining up towards the ceiling. Start to find that tension there, find that length along your hamstring, along the calf muscle. And then maybe we start to walk the hands a little bit farther up the leg. Just finding this nice deep stretch here. One more breath. Release the ankle or leg with your hands, but keep them extended up towards the sky. So the fingers are reaching up, the sole of the foot is reaching up, and your left leg and tailbone are kind of grounding you down into the mat. Now we're just going to start to peel the head off the mat and carefully peel your shoulder blades off the mat as well. You'll start to feel the core kick on. And with the breath out, release back down. Let's do that 2 more times with the breath. So inhale, lift, reach the fingers towards the toes. Exhale, soften and rest. Inhale, shoulder blades lift. Exhale, release and soften. Good. Release the sole of the right foot back down. Release the arms by your sides. Take a breath here in and out. Start to hug the left knee in towards your chest. Give it a little hug. Holding it in nice and tight here. And then we'll find those circles in the opposite direction, or on the opposite side. Whichever direction you want to start. Starting small and then eventually making the circles a little bit bigger. Notice as you make those circles if the other hip is kind of rocking from side to side, or if you're kind of shifting around along the length of the spine. See if you can kind of hug your belly button down towards the mat to kind of keep you nice and stable everywhere other than your leg that's moving. And switch directions with that leg, making circles the other way. And next time the leg comes back into center, pause there, hugging the knee back in. Take the hands to the back of the thigh, fingers interlace, and start to extend that left leg nice and long. Sole of the foot comes up towards the ceiling, toes pointing back towards the same direction that the crown of your head is reaching. And just finding that tension, finding that length here for a moment. Maybe you walk the hands farther up the leg towards the ankle, deepening the stretch. And we'll take one more big breath here. Release the hands, fingertips point up. Start to lift the head, lift the shoulder blades, and feel that core kick on. With the breath out, release back down. 2 more just like that. Inhale, lift the shoulder blades, fingers reach. Exhale, release. One more time, reaching up. Exhale, release. Take the sole of the left foot down, arms by your side, and take a big breath in and out. Good. Take the feet a little bit wider, so about as wide as the mat, and just let the knees fall from one side to the other. So just a little windshield wiper action here. Might feel the ground super firmly underneath the glutes, underneath the tailbone. Treat this as a little bit of massage in that area. And then go ahead and come back to stillness. Take the knees into the chest and either just rock onto your side to press yourself up to a seat, or come to a little bit of a rock and roll here along the spine. You can kind of rock a couple times to massage out the length of the spine, and then when you're ready, we'll meet in a seated position. So you can sit cross-legged or any other a seated position that's comfortable for you. If you need a little extra support, you can always sit up against a wall or put a folded blanket under your hips. Let's take a cleansing breath here, just settling into our seat, in and out. On the next breath in, sweep the arms up high, let the fingers meet overhead. As you exhale, take the right fingertips down, extend the left arm over the left ear for a big side bend. Inhale, both arms reach up. Exhale, side bend in the opposite direction. And we'll continue with the breath. Inhaling to reach up. Exhale, side bend to your right. Inhale up. Exhale to the left. Take a few more rounds of breath, just like that. So moving at your own pace. And as we start to kind of settle into these movements, starting to just notice how it feels to coordinate your breath with the movement in the body. So that can really kind of help us find that connection between our breath, our body, and our awareness. 3 things that often are kind of just doing their own thing as we kind of go through the motions of our day, right? You're not paying attention to your breathing. You might just be kind of doing things out of muscle memory while you drive to work or make your breakfast. And your awareness is likely on something completely different. A song that you're listening to, thinking about what's on your to-do list. So here we come to the mat and we give ourselves a chance to bring all 3 of these things together. Let's take one more on each side. Next time you come up through center, take a big breath in and exhale, take the hands to the heart. Notice a little bit of heat in the shoulders here from kind of holding them up over our heads for a little bit right there. Allow the shoulders to soften. Let's take a few shoulder rolls to just massage that out. So bringing the shoulders up towards the ears, down and back. And then come to stillness. Hold your hands out in front of you, so looking at the back of your hands with the fingertips pointing up. Spread the fingers wide, wide apart. Feel that stretch in the wrists and forearms. And then point your fingers straight down. One more time, point the fingers up. And then again, we'll point them down. Just take a moment to shake out the wrists, roll them around a couple of times. Making sure they feel nice and warm, nice and stretched out. And then when you're ready, we'll place the hands down on your mat and come onto all fours. So setting up in our tabletop position. Now, anytime we go on our knees during this class or any other class, it can be helpful to have something for a little bit of extra support or cushion under the knees. So I have just a folded up blanket here. I often recommend that as a good way to support the knees if there's any sort of discomfort or weirdness there for you. You can also kind of fold over the edge of the mat to double it up, or just use sort of like a thin pillow or something like that. So just setting up in our tabletop here, take the shoulders over the wrists, hips over your knees. As you breathe in, start to drop the belly and lift your gaze, lift your tailbone for your cow pose. Bringing the shoulder blades towards each other. Take a big breath out, start to round the spine. Look back between the arms towards the tops of your thighs. And we'll continue that with the breath. So inhale to drop your belly, open up. And exhale around through the spine. Just like with our side to side movement, let's continue with this on the breath. So again, just finding this intersection of your movement, your breath, and your attention. And if there's any other movements that feel good for you as we move through our spinal warm-up here, feel free to take that. So if you'd like to move the spine a little bit from side to side, or make some circles with the spine in each direction, or if there's any part of your cat and cow that just kind of feels really nice and you'd like to linger for a few extra breaths, by all means, feel free to do so. We're just taking a few moments here, and this is your own yoga practice. This is your own experience. So everything that I sort of instruct or cue is just a suggestion and an offering, and you don't have to take any of it. You don't have to take all of it. Kind of choose your own path here and find the version of the pose that feels best for you. Let's take 2 more big breaths, moving through our cat and cows. And then bring the spine to stillness. Good. Start to extend the right leg out behind you. So right leg comes long. The heel of the right foot is pressing towards the back of the mat, so feeling that stretch in the calf. And then we'll start to hover the right toes, keeping the hips level, toes pointing straight down. Cross the right toes over the left leg so that the toes land just off the left edge of the mat. So to shift your gaze towards the left as well. So essentially, you're kind of making a long C shape with the spine from the crown of the head down to the sole of that right foot. Good. Just feeling that length along the outside of the hip. One more breath. So to bring your gaze back to center, looking down between your hands again. Hover the right toes and then bring them back to where they started from. So keeping that right leg long, but returning the toes so they're in line with your right arm. Now press down through the hands, press down through your right toes, and start to hug that left knee in towards your chest. So we're pulling up into a plank with the left knee hugging in. And just pausing here. Like I mentioned, we're kind of igniting our inner fire today. So, this is a slow flow, but we'll do a little bit of activation, a little bit of core work to make sure that we're nice and ignited for this Aries full moon. One more breath here. And with the exhale, press the left leg all the way back to a full plank and shift your hips up and back for our first downward facing dog. Feel free to adjust the hands, adjust the feet here as needed. And just take a moment to set up in our downward dog. So both hands and feet are about hips width distance apart. You can have a slight bend in your knees here. Focus on length in the spine. So creating a long line from the hands to the tip of the tailbone with your head right in line with your arms and shoulders. Feel free to bend into one knee and then the other a couple times to just pedal out your dog, stretching out the legs. One more big breath in and out. Go ahead and tap the knees back down, coming back through tabletop for a moment. Walk the hands a little farther forward and then shift your hips all the way back towards your heels. Taking a moment in our child's pose here. Now, if you are having a hard time getting your hips towards your heels, that's totally fine. They don't have to be smushed all the way down. A good option here is to take that same blanket or whatever you have and place it between the hips and the heels to give yourself a little extra space. And the head doesn't have to be touching all the way down onto the mat. Just kind of letting your head and your heart melt and soften down towards the mat. checking in here. So I know we don't always come to a slow flow class expecting lots of core work, and we're not going to do anything crazy today, but just challenging ourselves a little bit and turning on the heat just a little bit while still maintaining a nice steady pace. And remaining calm. Most importantly, remaining calm, maintaining this element of peacefulness and serenity and slowness. We can slow things down and still continue to challenge ourselves and find a little spark, a little extra fire, a little extra energy. When you're ready, we're going to make our way back to our tabletop position. So meeting me back here in your tabletop, shoulders over wrists, hips over knees. And we'll take that whole sequence on the other side. So this time extending the left leg long with the left heel pressing towards the back edge of the mat. Feeling that stretch in the calf. And then we'll start to hover the left toes pointing down and cross the left leg over the right. So left toes land outside the right edge of the mat and the gaze shifts towards the right as well. So creating that same C shape with the spine, this time on the opposite side. And just hold there for a few more breaths. I'm just getting up to sort of check on the live stream here. See if there's any questions or comments. Looks like we're doing good. Cool. You guys are doing awesome. Hold there for one more big breath. And then we'll start to lift the left toes, bring them back through center. Gaze comes back between the hands. Lower the left toes down, press into the hands, press into the left toes, and then bring that right knee in towards your chest for your core plank. Now, while we come into this shape, just notice if your hips are like trying to shift way up as if you're going towards a downward dog. Keep it all level here. So keep that knee hugging in without the hips lifting too high. They might kind of naturally lift a little bit just to make space for your leg, but just notice if you're kind of overcompensating for your core by hinging a little too much in the hips. Just one more breath here, nice and strong. And go ahead and step that right foot back, plank to downward facing dog. Hips come up and back. Take a few breaths here. Pedaling out the feet, bending into one knee and then the other. Nice long spine. Beautiful. Now go ahead and bend into both knees and look up towards your hands, and we'll start to tiptoe towards the top of the mat. So eventually the feet come to land somewhere around behind the hands. Release the head and neck. Your hands can be tented down on your mat. They can land on blocks, they can land on a wall or something nearby, or you can grab opposite elbows. Wherever you are, feel free to maintain a slight bend in the knees and just allow your upper body to release and soften over your legs. Maybe a little sway from side to side. Release the arms if you were holding them. As you breathe in, start to slide the hands up the legs. They'll land either on your shins or tops of the thighs. Let the spine lengthen and the crown of the head extend towards the front of the room that you're in. Nice long spine, nice long flat back. This is our halfway lift. One more breath in. And exhale, release back into your forward fold. With an in-breath, we'll start to roll up to stand nice and slow. So just starting to bring your spine up, stacking one vertebrae on top of the next. Eventually bringing up your head and shoulders. When you get to the top, just give yourself a big shoulder roll up and back so the heart is shining forward, palms facing forward. Big smile on your face. Coming into our first mountain pose. Good. With a big breath in, let's sweep the arms up high. Let the fingers meet and interlace overhead. As you exhale, start to side bend over towards your right. Inhale, take the arms back up. Exhale, side bend towards the left. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, take your hands to your heart. Good. Take a big breath here. In and out. In and out. Don't mind me, I'm just putting my hair up so it doesn't fall on my face when we go back down. Take a big breath in, sweep the arms up high. As you exhale, hinge from your hips, dive all the way back to your forward fold. Now bend into the knees enough that you can plant your hands down on the mat, and we'll step the feet all the way back to a plank. So we're going to hold here for just a few breaths. Just like in the tabletop, shoulders are over the wrists. Notice if you're kind of hyperextending the elbows here to maintain your balance, keep a slight bend in those elbows. And always the option to tap the knees down, but make sure you keep the spine nice and long and in line with your legs when you do that. Wherever you are, we're going to start to bend into the elbows and carefully lower all the way down to the belly. If it's not comfortable or safe for you to be on your belly right now, just take hands and knees coming into a tabletop. If you're on your belly, take a breath in, lift your head and heart for our baby cobra. And if you're in tabletop, anytime we do this, you can go into a cow pose, just like we did at the beginning of our sequence earlier. With a breath out, release back down. 2 more just like that. Inhale, lift your head and heart. Elbows are hugging in. Imagine that you're pulling your hands towards your hips and your heart is shining through in between your arms. Exhale, release. 1 more. Inhale, lift your head and heart. Exhale, release. Inhale, press yourself back up through your plank or through all fours. And with a big breath out, let's make our way back to our downward facing dog. Taking a big breath in here and a big breath out. Nice and slow, we're going to go through another sun salutation just like that. Bending into the knees, look up to the hands, step your way to the top of the mat for forward fold. Inhale, lift halfway, hands to shins or thighs. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, roll up to stand. Exhale at the top, shoulders come up and back. Inhale, sweep the arms up, let the fingers meet overhead. Exhale, take your hands to your heart. Take a breath in here and a breath out. Another breath in, reach the fingers up. As you exhale, dive forward, hinge from the hips, forward fold, bend into the knees, plant the hands. We'll step the feet back to plank or modified plank. Take a breath in at the top. Exhale to lower down to the belly. Inhale, baby cobra, head and heart. Exhale, release. Inhale, press up through all fours or plank. Exhale, downward facing dog. Once you arrive, take a big breath in and a big breath out. Shift your weight forward, coming back into our plank pose. Start to hover the right toes off the mat. Hug the right knee into the chest, just like we did earlier from our tabletop shape. Now we're gonna step that right foot down. You might need to take a couple steps and a couple adjustments to get there, but making our way to a runner's lunge. Option to tap the back knee down for a little extra space. Option to take blocks under the hands if you have them. Press down into that left hand. Take the right hand to the low back and start to twist over towards the right. So again, that back knee can be tapped down or lifted. Yogi's choice here. Shoulders come to sort of stack on top of one another. And to deepen the stretch, you can extend the right arm up towards the sky. So creating this open T, looking over towards your right side. Maybe lift the gaze. One more big breath in. As you exhale, release that hand down. Now, if you had the back knee tapped down, curl the back toes under and lift it. Both hands will come to hover and we'll reach the arms up towards the sky for a high lunge shape. If you're feeling a little bit wobbly here, it can help to kind of heel toe both feet a little closer to the edges of the mat. So if you need to create a little bit of a wider stance, and just to kind of show you what that looks like, I see a lot of people kind of come into this like this. So see how on the video, you can only really see my front leg because the back leg is directly behind it. So what I mean is to kind of heel toe this front foot closer to the edge of the mat that it's on, and heel toe that back foot closer to its own edge. So your feet are on their own kind of separate planes here. It's just a little tip to help with balance, help with stability in this shape. Let's take one more big breath in. As you exhale, we'll open up to warrior two. So take those right fingers forward and the left fingers back. The left foot will come down so the sole of the foot is planted on the mat and the left toes are pointing towards the left edge of the mat. Arms are long. Front knee is bending, so it's coming over that front ankle. And notice if the knee is caving in towards the right, try to keep that hip nice and open. Strong warrior two. Good. Start to straighten that front leg. Take a breath in, reverse your triangle. So the right hand is reaching, left arm comes to the left leg. Now we'll cartwheel the arms into our triangle pose. So the right hand comes down onto the right leg, left arm reaches up to the sky. Shoulders stacked and open. Bring your arms up to a T. Turn the right toes in so that all 10 toes are now pointing towards the right edge of your mat. Sorry that I'm facing away from you. Take a big breath in, reach the arms up high. As you exhale, hinge forward from your hips into a wide-legged forward fold. Hands can rest down on the ground in front of you, fingers content, or you can grab opposite elbows just like we did earlier in our regular forward fold. Feel free to rock a little from side to side, maybe bend into one knee and then the other to stretch out the hips. Just take a few moments here to find whatever feels good for you in your body. And we'll start to lift the heart. Walk the hands towards the left foot. So we're pivoting all 10 toes so that they're now pointing towards the back edge of your yoga mat. So just kind of coming to face the opposite direction in a runner's lunge. Fingers hover off the mat, bring them forward and then up high, coming back into a high lunge. Take a big breath in, lift the heart, lift the gaze. As you exhale, open up to your warrior two. So now we have the left fingers reaching towards the back of the mat, right fingers reaching towards the front of the mat. This time, the left knee is the one that's bent. So we're basically just facing away from what we were treating as the front of our mat before. Start to straighten the front knee. Inhale, reverse the warrior. And exhale, cartwheel the arms into your triangle pose on the opposite side. Shoulders stacked, open heart. Bring the arms back up to a T. Turn the left toes in, so all 10 toes are once again pointing to the right. Inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale into your wide-legged forward fold. Release your head and neck, fingers tented, hands planted, or grabbing opposite elbows. And a couple breaths here to take any movements that are calling to you, to deepen and enhance this stretch. Little bend in the knees to start to lift your heart and walk the hands back towards that runner's lunge with the right toes pointing towards the front of your mat out in front. Press into the hands, lift that right foot, bring the right knee back into your chest, back into that core plank that we started from. And nice and slow, we'll extend the right leg again and plant the right toes down. Hips come up and back for downward facing dog. Good. Bend into the knees, look up to the hands, walk the hands all the way back towards your feet. Just a brief forward fold at the back of the mat. Inhale, lift halfway. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, roll up to stand, nice and slow. And shoulders up and back at the top. Inhale, reach the arms up high. Exhale, take your hands to your heart. Inhale, fingers come up. And exhale, dive into your forward fold. Bend into the knees, start to walk the hands back out all the way into a plank. Pause here. Strong core. Hover the left toes. Start to hug that left knee into your chest. Super strong. And then we'll plant that left foot down. Inch it forward. Take a couple extra steps if needed. Same option on this side to tap that right knee down or keep it lifted. And option for blocks under the hands. We'll press down into the right hand. Take the left hand to the low back this time for your twist towards the left side. So trying to bring those shoulders to kind of stack on top of one another. And then option here to take the left arm all the way up high. Deepening the twist, opening the heart. One more big breath in. Exhale, release, frame the front foot. Lift the back knee if it was lowered. Hover the fingertips. Bring them up high for your high lunge. Once again, setting up here. So we'll take a couple breaths to just kind of set up. Adjust the feet if you need to. Remember that kind of trick about not standing on a tightrope. Heel toeing the feet towards the edges of the mat to find your balance. Good. Release the arms down by your sides on this side. Interlace the fingers at the low back. Draw the shoulder blades together and lift the gaze. Lift the heart towards the sky. Just finding a little heart opening on this side. Bend a little more deeply into that front knee. Release the arms, reach them back up high. Take a breath in. Exhale to warrior two. Good. Inhale, reverse the warrior on this side. Exhale, take the left forearm to the inside of the left thigh. Right arm up high for our side angle pose. Good. Straighten that front leg, transitioning carefully into a triangle pose. So notice the shoulders stack here. Notice you might not be leaning on that leg for support as much as you usually do in your triangle. And then bring the arms all the way up to a T. Turn the front toes in. All 10 toes point towards the right edge of the mat this time. Inhale, reach the arms up. As you exhale, take your hands to your heart. Take the heels in a little bit so the toes are pointing out to the corners of your mat. And bend into the knees for a goddess pose. Take a breath in, straighten the knees. And exhale, bend into the knees for goddess. Inhale, lift. And exhale, sink the hips. Inhale, lift. And take a breath out here. Keep your hips lifted. That was the last one. Turn all 10 toes towards the back edge of the mat. So we're coming back to the opposite side again. Bend into that right knee. Come into your runner's lunge here. So just setting up on the opposite side, facing the back of the mat. Right toes are under your gaze. Start to hover the fingers, reach them forward and up high for your high lunge on this side. Take a breath here to set up. Release the arms, interlace the fingers at the low back. By the way, if you can't quite reach the fingers together, you can grab something like a strap or a sock to hold in between the two hands. Or you can just take the hands right to the low back. Draw the shoulder blades together, lift the heart, lift the gaze. Bend a little deeper into that front knee, a little more open across the chest. One more breath. Release the arms. Inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, open up to warrior two. So bending into that right knee this time. Inhale, reverse your warrior. Exhale, the arms cartwheel into your side angle. Right forearm comes to the inside of the right thigh. Left arm reaches up high. Good. Slowly starting to lengthen that right leg, coming into a brief, strong triangle pose. And then cartwheel the arms up to a T. Right toes come in, so all 10 toes are pointing this way. Inhale, reach the arms up. Take the heels in towards each other, toes pointing to the corners of the mat. With a big breath out, sink into your goddess pose. This time we'll hold here for 3, 2, 1. And exhale to lengthen the legs, release into a wide-legged forward fold. Last forward fold here of our class, so take any variation that is calling to you. Any extra movements if you want to sink nice and deep into one knee and then the other, really getting into those hips. Just take 3 more rounds of breath here. And then bend into both knees. Come all the way back up to stand. Turn all 10 toes back towards the front of the mat. And fold forward. Tap the fingers down in your runner's lunge. Press down into the hands. Pluck that left foot off the mat, hugging the left knee in towards the chest for our last little core plank here. And carefully extend that leg to your plank. One last option here to take a vinyasa flow if you'd like, or you can just go straight to down dog or child's pose. If you'd like to take a final flow with me, we'll take a breath in our plank. Exhale to lower to the belly, or maybe pause halfway this time. Inhale to that baby cobra or upward dog, shining the heart forward. And exhale, make your way back to downward facing dog. Once you arrive there, you can take a couple rounds of breath in this last downward dog, and we'll all eventually meet in our child's pose with the knees tapped down, hips shifting back, forehead and heart relaxing towards the mat. Breathe here. just take a moment in your child's pose to kind of catch your breath and check in with how you feel. And this was, sort of a slow flow, but not short of a little bit of challenge, a little bit of heat. I think that is kind of the energy that we're going for with this Aries full moon, right? The full moon is always a time that we can sort of take to slow things down, to reflect, to pause, to bring ourselves back to center and be more present with ourselves. But with this Aries energy, it's also a time to ignite and a time to honor our fire, honor our spark, honor things that make us burn, even if that is a little challenging, a little tiring. It is totally worth it to harness that energy and that life and whatever it is that kind of makes you feel alive and makes you feel fulfilled and makes you feel purposeful. So give yourself a little pat on the back for honoring that today. If you'd like to physically lift your arms up and give yourself a little pat on the back in your child's pose. It can be our little child's pose variation for this evening. And whenever you're ready, we're going to make our way back down over to our backs. So I'll invite you to lift your forehead a few inches off the mat, and however you'd like, just flip yourself over to the back. Landing there with the soles of the feet on the mat, knees pointing up towards the ceiling. Go ahead and extend the right leg up towards the sky. Cross that right ankle to the top of the left thigh for a figure 4. Option to stay right here or hug that left knee or left leg in towards the chest to deepen your figure 4 stretch. Taking 3 deep breaths here. Release the leg, uncross the legs. Let the knees fall from one side to the other. Windshield wiper back and forth. One more back and forth. And bring the legs back to center. Left leg extends up high. Bend into the left knee. Place the left ankle on the top of the right thigh. Stay right here. Or hover that right leg, bring it closer in towards your chest with your hands to deepen. And take 3 deep breaths. Release the leg, uncross the legs, and let the knees fall from one side to the other. Take a few more windshield wipers, and then when you're ready, we're going to shift towards our Shavasana. So you can extend the legs out long or take the legs to any comfortable position that feels good for you in your body. And while you're doing that, while you're kind of making that transition here, I am just queuing up a slightly more relaxing song for our Shavasana. So as you start to find stillness, as you start to kind of deepen your breath here, allowing yourself to come back to stillness, come back to center. And just give yourself a moment to notice how you're feeling. Notice what has changed as we've gone through this practice. Notice maybe what expectations you came into our practice with and what you're leaving with as we prepare to transition into the rest of our evening and, of course, the rest of this cycle. Notice if you feel very in touch with your inner fire, and notice if you don't. Notice if you have any emotional or mental or spiritual reaction to that. Notice what comes to mind as something that might be in your way or something that might be challenging you in your efforts to be your most creative and confident and glittery, shiny, wonderful self. And just let yourself be with that. Know that wherever you are with that question, with that reflection, you are exactly where you need to be. And you are doing exactly the right thing right now by bringing awareness to it, by shining light on whatever is your truth as it relates to this matter. And most importantly, taking time to honor your body, honor your mind, honor your entire being by practicing yoga and spending this quality time with you and yourself. I invite you to stay in your Shavasana as long as you'd like. Wonderful thing about practicing virtually is that you don't have to get up and leave the room when the teacher ends class. But I know I am running a little bit over on the scheduled time, so I will start to guide out of Shavasana, but like I said, feel free to remain right here for as long as you desire. If you are ready to move forward with your evening, you can start to wiggle the fingers and toes a little bit. Maybe start to roll the wrists and your ankles a couple of times just to bring a little bit of movement back to the body. Deep in the breath. Take a full body stretch if you'd like, reaching the arms overhead and just making yourself as long as possible. And then when you're ready, you can rock over onto one side. Set yourself up in a fetal position. I always love to pause here for a few breaths, I feel like it's just the perfect transition between Shavasana and sort of the rest of your day. And it kind of gives me an intentional moment to just kind of say, hey, thank you, myself. Thank you for honoring my body, for honoring my mind. Thank you for showing up for myself, for loving myself, for taking care of myself. And anything else that you feel gratitude for, towards yourself or towards anything else. Just kind of being with that for a moment here. And at last, when you're ready, we'll press ourselves up to a seated position, comfortable seat, and just take the hands to heart center here. And we'll close out our practice with just one last big breath together. So taking a big breath in, sweep the arms up, reach them overhead, fingers meet. And with the biggest breath out you've taken all day, we'll slowly lower the hands to the heart. Thank you so much for joining me this evening, for practicing, like I said a couple times, for honoring yourself and your body and your mind. The light in me sees, appreciates, honors, loves, and respects the light and love in each and every one of you. Namaste, my friends. Thank you so much for joining me. If you enjoyed this, and if this is kind of your first time practicing with me, I invite you to stay in touch, please, by following me on my social media, which I have all of the links in the description of this video, to my Instagram, my Facebook page. You are on my YouTube channel, so you can go ahead and hit subscribe to stay up to date with other videos and live classes that I do on here, and sign up for my mailing list on my website, dotheyoga.com. This is a free class that I offer fairly regularly, not every single new moon and full moon, but I try to do it, at least once every other month or so. So definitely stay in touch. I like to just do this for free as a way to kind of meet new yogis, kind of give an offering out into the world. But if you feel called to donate, or leave a tip in any way, I have my Venmo and PayPal in the description too. So not a requirement or request at all, but just something that's there if it calls to you. Thank you so much again. It was wonderful to see you all. I see your comments. Thank you so much for leaving the nice messages, and I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful evening. Enjoy the rest of this new moon period, and have a wonderful rest of your Libra season, and hopefully I'll see you again soon. Thank you.